Rising violently from the flat, baking desert floor of central Arizona is a monolithic wall of volcanic rock known as the Superstition Mountains. To the untrained eye, these jagged peaks are a testament to the raw, untamed beauty of the American West. But to the native Apache, who have guarded this land for centuries, the mountain is not a monument of beauty. It is a sealed vault of divine wrath. They call it the home of the thunder god, a sacred ground strictly forbidden to mortals. And history has proven, with a chillingly high body count, that the mountain does not tolerate trespassers. The ledger of the Superstition Mountains is written in a currency older than nations, blood and gold. The legend speaks of a hidden quartz vein so rich with pure gold that you could carve it out with a simple pocket knife. For over 400 years, the promise of this unimaginable wealth has lured explorers, empires, and desperate men into the canyons. But the desert is a cruel accountant. The vast majority of those who ventured into the jagged shadows never returned, and those who were found were missing their heads. The curse began long before the United States claimed the territory. In the 1840s, a wealthy Mexican mining dynasty known as the Peralta family allegedly discovered the motherlode deep within the Forbidden Peaks. Blinded by greed, they launched massive expeditions, stripping the sacred mountain of its gold, entirely ignoring the warnings of the local Apache. The mountain's vengeance was swift and absolute. In 1848, as the Peralta family attempted to transport their massive fortune back to Mexico, they were ambushed by Apache warriors in a narrow gorge now infamous as massacred grounds. Hundreds of miners were slaughtered. The Apache did not take the gold. Instead, treating the metal as a corrupted, cursed object, they buried it, sealed the mine, and erased all traces of its location. The gold was returned to the dark, but a secret of that magnitude cannot remain buried forever. It only waits for a new generation of greedy men to wake it up. Decades later, in the late 19th century, the secret was unearthed by a German immigrant named Jacob Waltz, the man who would become known to history as the Dutchman. He would walk out of the desert with saddlebags heavy with pure gold, carrying a secret that he would take to his grave. A secret that would ignite a frantic, bloody gold rush that continues to claim lives to this exact day. Welcome to the Superstition Mountains, where the price of gold is your life, and the ledger is always open. When Jacob Waltz, the infamous Dutchman, finally settled in Phoenix in the late 1880s, he was a man who possessed unimaginable wealth, yet lived in absolute, suffocating terror. He didn't own the gold owned his mind. The few who interacted with the aging German immigrant noted a deep, fractured paranoia in his eyes. He trusted no one. He slept with a loaded Winchester rifle across his chest, barricaded inside his adobe home. Waltz knew what he had awakened in the superstitions. He knew that the mountain's curse wasn't just physical, it was a psychological contagion. The gold whispered. It eroded the sanity of anyone who touched it, breeding a relentless fear that the shadows themselves were coming to reclaim what was stolen. In the winter of 1891, a massive flood destroyed his home. As Waltz lay dying of pneumonia, his mind finally snapped under the weight of the secret. In his delirious final hours, he drew a fragmented, chaotic map, murmuring about a canyon with a rock shaped like a weaver's needle, and a mine shaft hidden by the harsh desert sun. When he took his last breath, authorities found a heavy candle box hidden under his deathbed. Inside was raw, incredibly rich gold ore, the kind of gold geologists claimed shouldn't even exist in Arizona. The myth was immediately validated, and the infection of greed was released to the public. The true psychological horror of the Superstition Mountains is how it hunts. It doesn't use claws or fangs, it uses the mind. It weaponizes the oppressive silence of the desert, the hallucinatory heat of the midday sun, and the absolute isolation. When you step into those canyons, the silence is so heavy it begins to ring in your ears. Every shadow cast by a saguaro cactus looks like a watcher. Every gust of wind sounds like a footstep in the gravel behind you. You begin to feel the crushing gaze of the mountain pressing against the back of your neck. Decades later, in the summer of 1931, a 66-year-old government bureaucrat named Adolph Ruth succumbed to this contagion. Ruth was not a survivalist, he was a man of logic who had acquired a copy of the Peralta family map. Ignoring the frantic warnings of local ranchers, he hiked alone into the furnace of the superstitions. He promised to return in 2 weeks. He never walked out. His disappearance sparked one of the largest manhunts in Arizona history, but what the search parties eventually found would permanently cement the mountain's terrifying reputation. Six months later, deep inside a restricted canyon, a search party made a grisly discovery. Resting perfectly upright on a rock was a human skull. It was completely severed from the torso, with no other bones in sight. Forensic analysis revealed 2 bullet holes fired at point-blank range into the skull. Months later, his headless body was discovered miles away, but the true terror lay in what was found in Ruth's pocket, his personal journal. The final entry, written in erratic, panicked handwriting, did not ask for help. It didn't describe his attackers. It simply contained 3 chilling Latin words: Veni, Vidi, Vici. I came, I saw, I conquered. What did Adolph Ruth see in his final moments? Did he find the Dutchman's gold, only for the madness of the mountain to claim him? Or did he encounter the silent guardians of the thunder god? The authorities ruled his death an unsolved homicide, but the locals knew the truth. The mountain had balanced its ledger, and it was waiting for the next victim. You might believe that the safety of the 21st century has tamed the Superstition Mountains. You might think that with GPS, satellite phones, and modern search and rescue drones, the curse of the Dutchman has been reduced to a ghost story for tourists. You would be dead wrong. The mountain does not care what century it is, and it does not negotiate with technology. Even today, the ledger remains open. In 2009, in 2010, and deep into the modern era, experienced hikers and treasure hunters continue to vanish without a trace, when their remains are occasionally found years later, stuffed into impossible crevices or dangling over sheer cliffs. The official reports always cite exposure or falls, but the locals know the signs: the compasses that spin violently in circles, the drones that drop dead from the sky without warning. The mountain is still actively protecting its blood. To understand this eternal violence, we must look past Jacob Waltz and the Spanish conquistadors, back to the true masters of the desert. The Apache did not view the gold as currency. According to their oldest traditions, the gold inside the Superstition Mountains was the literal blood of the thunder god, a deeply vengeful deity. To mine the gold was to wound the mountain itself. The Apache believed that those who dared to remove the stones were infected with a spiritual sickness, a madness that would slowly rot their minds until the thunder god's guardians, the Tuartums, the little people of the mountains, came to collect the debt. This is the psychological trap of the superstitions. It is a place that weaponizes human greed. It lures men in with the promise of absolute power and wealth, only to strip them of their sanity, their direction, and finally, their lives. The gold is not a treasure, it is bait. When you walk into those canyons, you are not a hunter seeking a fortune, you are the prey, stepping willingly into the jaws of a god that has been starving for centuries. The Lost Dutchman's mine has never been definitively found. Perhaps it is buried under a landslide of volcanic rock. Perhaps it never existed at all, serving merely as a psychological mirage to feed the mountain. But the bodies are real. The severed heads of the 19th century are real. The disappearances of today are real. The Superstition Mountains stand as a monumental tombstone in the Arizona desert, a dark reminder that some lands are not meant to be conquered by men. If you ever find yourself staring at those jagged peaks as the sun goes down, remember the ledger. It is always balancing its debts, and the mountain always wins. This is the lore ledger. If you are captivated by the dark chapters of history, true mysteries, and the legends that refuse to stay buried, subscribe to the channel and open the archive. Until next time, stay out of the dark.